Hi everyone, TomboTheTornado back again. I wanted to do an in-depth breakdown of the Horizon Zero Dawn trailer, but first of all, I'd just like to say I know that some of you might thinking my reaction to Horizon Zero Dawn trailer was a little flat. That was just basically because Q Gamer said to me, "Hey, do you want to react to Horizon Zero Dawn trailer?" And I said at the time, "Yeah, sure," thinking, "Oh, it's going to come out later." And then I remembered that D and Lego Online posted a little thing saying, "Hey, there's a PS4 event, PS5 event, really happening soon. Do you want to go and check that out?" And I'm like, "It's the middle of the night. I got work, and I can't really. I'll catch up on it." And then I was like, I wonder if there was any trailers released. And then I scrolled and I was like, Horizon Zero Dawn 2 on the phone just because work was coming up. And I was just like, I wonder if there's a trailer on. And I just went absolutely nuts for about 30 seconds. So when I sat down in the computer, I hadn't watched the trailer, but my reaction to it sort of already happened because in the other room I was just scrolling through it, and I was just like, I just went nuts for about 5 minutes. So then I calmed myself down, sat down, and did my reaction to the trailer, having not watched the trailer, but sort of kind of already reacted to it already. So I wish you could see it. I jumped around the room for about, I don't know, a whole minute there. But yeah, so that happened. So next time I suppose I'd have to tune into events. I think I need to have my pulse on it a bit more. I'm so bad with comparing things, like a pulse on the ball. It doesn't make sense. It's just anyway. Not why I'm here. I just wanted to go over the trailer, and I'm gonna go through it almost frame by frame, and we're gonna discuss a load of things here. I honestly don't know how long this is gonna go on for. I thought about a bunch of stuff last night, and I've got some nice notes ready to go, and I'm perfectly happy to make a start. But before all that, so I was looking up the other day previous references to California and the sort of buildings that were there and the things that were happening, like during the original war in Horizon Zero Dawn, before all that took place, and the Pharaoh Plague and all of that. So if you can imagine, the robots came in, they invaded California, then they went to Zero Dawn and tried to access and kill all the humans. So they were going east from the west. So the west was hit before all the facilities further on. So the fact that the trailer shows so many broken machines, broken Horus, just everything on the Pharaoh Plague, they'd already pushed through that, and I found it very interesting. I'm gonna play it for you in a minute. This was from Old J, and I'll put a link down in the description, which is very useful that these all came together. This was in the Grave Horde data points. So if I play these.
Log. Third Battle of California Marine. The swarm came in from the Pacific, and I don't know if it was the local Minutemen or the crazy 15th, but they'd set the garbage patch alight. Man, the sea was on fire. That stuff was... The first wave of bots came in covered in burning sludge. They bought us an hour or two of slaughtering them on the beaches before the swarm recalculated. We pulled them inland, back to the Kalmar sprawl. Dropped buildings on them, EMP'd the grid. Standard operating procedure. The last time I was in California, I was 5, 6. The light was like that vintage social net filter that was everywhere in the 40s.
So I'm guessing what we saw at the beginning of the trailer was the Kalmar Sprawl in California, and that beach that they were going along, and you see the Golden Gate Bridge. So they pulled them inland, they dropped buildings on them. That's probably why there was so many spread out. It's not like a proper hustle bustle city. It got flattened by the robots, it got flattened by the defenders, and it just got ruined before the invasion happened, or well, during the invasion happening. So the robots eventually defeated them. They retreated into the east. Yeah, had to think about that one then. And to defend, pulled back to defend Zero Dawn until their last breath. So I'm guessing we're going to see like the Kalmar Sprawl, and I'm thinking we're going to have a bit more in terms of data logs about what happened during the war. I know that there were certainly gaps, and although we got the general picture, and obviously it was a great defeat, and also an enduring victory, but I'd like to see a bit more of what was happening in terms of like I did a video previously on this, and I will also put that one in the description, about what would happen if Enduring Victory went a complete different way. Instead of saying, hey, we got the super weapon Zero Dawn, they inscripted people and like different ways of fighting that would ensure their victory, or at least a partial victory or something, to help them survive. But honestly, I honestly think that there was no other way. They came up with the best plan they could possibly find, and yeah, that was. I mean, it's a big moment for humans to like say, "Hey, we're gonna die, but we're gonna keep it a secret," and inspire people to die for us. I mean, General Harris certainly put in his allocution of crimes and saying, hey, let history judge me. I suppose that's us now. We judge. But yeah, then it goes on a little bit.
Log. First battle of the Eastern Seaboard Wall. Had a long run up to it. This was before Kalmar, and projections were a lot worse for the East. For 3 weeks, we kept getting scrambled out to some coastal burg to train Minutemen. It was always raining on account of Europe already being torched. Block after block of prefab barracks. They were still printing barracks right up until the hour the main force hit. The Minutemen? We ran combat drills with them in the streets where they'd lived, trying to pretend they might live to die somewhere else if they paid attention. Nothing worse than the ones who actually bought into it. Hopeful, pestering us with questions about Zero Dawn like we know something they don't. I swear, the more we do this, the more like the bots we are. Except they learn from every fight. Us? I'm not so sure.
So that was before Kalmar. So the jungle, I'm guessing, is Kalmar. On the shore is actually California. So I and notice the point about we kept printing barracks right up to the main force hits. So there is a lot of military style. There's going to be a lot of probably leftover weapons, anything that was like left behind. Obviously, time's going to rust some of that, but tactics, logs, anyone who has access to that, and we know Silence is out there, so he could probably gain access to a lot of militarized equipment or material or logs or tactics or just weapons in general or anything like that. The fact that there are many barracks like scattered ruins, and I'm sure some of that got destroyed when the robots pushed through and when the people destroyed all of that. I'm gonna have to do 2 videos because this is gonna be a long video, but I'm gonna put another one after this because there's so much I want to say. There's like loads I want to say, and I don't want to go on for hours and hours, but I will do this one and then I'll do that one. So this is like before the trailer, and then we'll do the trailer and break it down. So, like, the fact that the barracks kept printing and the fact that that information is still out there means that Silence could effectively get hold of that, or anyone, any other tribes, bandits are out there. We've got other tribes. We know the Plains women and the Plains people, Plains men, Plains people. I think it's Urita. I really should have checked on that. I will check on that before the next video and I'll get back to you on that. But the Plains people who are great for farming. Now, did they gain that knowledge through the old ones? Because they are really good at farming. And the AI for the land could be out there and they could have picked that up. And just generally, there's so much to cover here, but my basic feeling is that because this was during Enduring Victory and because the robots pushed through, there's going to be a lot left behind. There's going to be loads of data logs for us. There's going to be a lot of old history and a lot of things that are left behind. Now, we know during the founding of Meridian, and it's in the text logs, that Meridian was founded and they started farming, and you can see the farm when you come through the village, and down in the market town at the base of Meridian there's a whole pasture of farming. Now, they got that knowledge, and we know they got that knowledge through the data logs that they found. Now, they didn't say data logs, it said tomes, so books. And it's been 1,000 years, and that's been confirmed in this trailer, 1,000 years since the old ones died. So that means that Horizon Zero Dawn was successful, and that Gaia was successful in her first attempt to recreate the Earth. There wasn't any do-over, there wasn't any need for Hades at the time, because it worked the first time. So it hadn't gone through like a phase, or at least if it did go wrong, it was quickly corrected. I don't believe Hades was used. I personally believe it worked the first time. Everything went according to plan, and 1,000 years later, everything was set up and ready, and humankind was reintroduced into the world just before the 1,000 years, and everything turned out fine. So, going back, because the books were in good condition, or good enough condition, that the settlers of Meridian can use them to create farming. They did say eventually the books sort of broke down, but not before they'd taken in the knowledge, passed it on, or maybe rewrote what they needed to. But they had enough of an impact to help set up Meridian and help Meridian become as powerful as it did. Because obviously being able to grow your own food and certainly crops and irrigation and all of that, and we see like a very medieval version of it, but it's still there. It's still enough to help them to succeed in the founding of Meridian. And really, I think that the Plains people probably have a similar situation where they found books or they know information enough to start building farming. Now, you look at the Nora now. How much farming do you see on the Nora? I see none. So they don't know how to do it. Or at least they don't want to do it. They live off the lands, they fish, definitely, they hunt, but farming, not so much. Know which herbs to use to heal, certainly some herbal knowledge there, but actual farming, not so much. So they probably traded with Meridian for food in terms of farming, and I think that will be a good thing going forward, because that's something else I want to talk about what happened after, certainly after the events of Horizon Zero Dawn, when that came to an end. Obviously, we're not going to see, or we're not going to be playing on that map anymore, so we're not going to I want to see some changes. I want to see what happens with Meridian and going forward, but I think that's going to be its own cutscene. They'll probably film a little bit on the old game, put it in the new game, and say, hey, this is all happening, this all happened, this was the result of this, and then we'll go forward with the main story, which leads Aloy into the Forbidden West. But yeah, I think because other tribes, I mean, certainly the Banuk, you don't see any farming there. They must either trade for veg or they might take it. You don't really see any raids, and you don't see Banor, so you don't know if there's other farming going on up there. But being quite bitter and quite cold, I would imagine not. But then you don't. I don't know for 100%, and I can't say for 100%, but I would say the Plains people and Meridian have access to farming. Now, with all that knowledge there and readily available, I would say, well, really, I wondered about. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I'm gonna say, I think that after Meridian, the elevators were destroyed. We know that much. The village down the bottom was absolutely devastated. Fire and all those crops probably wiped out. Now, Avard's got to reward the ones that came to help, those that survived, and although he didn't deal with the Nora directly, they were there, and Val was there, and Warchief Sona was there, and any other Braves that died. So he knows that the Nora are suffering. There was, the Proving massacre. Then afterwards, the War Party was slaughtered. Then after that, the Eclipse sent all their troops in. So the Nora are pretty much on their last, but they're a very proud tribe. So I think what Avard might do is show them how to farm, or at least give them instructions on how to farm. They wouldn't have to go out and hunt as much. They would be able to maybe replant and heal the valley and heal Mother's Heart and just encourage regrowth, which would heal the sacred lands. I think that would be the best thing for Avad to do, because he knows the Nora are very proud. They won't accept help. If he gives them a bunch of food and says, hey, I know you're suffering, here's all this, they won't take it because they are a proud tribe. But if he gave them something to help them heal themselves and heal the Sacred Valley, it might go a long way to fixing, certainly helping the Nora and fixing any ill will between them and him and Meridian, really. And I know they're very untrusting of outside, but Aloy could certainly negotiate with them on his behalf. I think that would go a long way to helping the Nora regain their status as a predominant tribe, because now their numbers are in the minority and they're in decline. But if they had farming, if they could grow their own food and heal the Sacred Valley, they could help get back into some sort of normality for a tribe. It will take a long time, but it would certainly help things. As for the Banuk, I don't think they'd accept anything except maybe Shard and like stories of their triumph. So maybe they would accept a painting, a mural, maybe on the side of Meridian on the plateau, just to mark the fact that they helped with this massive fight, that they were there, and it certainly would help relationships between Banor and Meridian, just in terms of the fact that they could put this massive mural, people would have to, tribesmen would have to come and repaint, and painters would come and repaint, and that would help maybe towards relationships there. Now, Shadow Carja. With the destruction of Helis and his force was wiped out, and there is no more leadership back in in Sundown. It's completely. I'm trying to think of anyone who would take Sundown, but the nobles and those that fled, and the priests that fled to Sunfall, Sunfall, um, they would probably, well, without much force left, I would think they would surrender, and they had no provisions out there. I didn't see any farming, so they'd have to hunt for their food, and in the desert, that's not great. Lots of dangerous machines. I just think they would surrender and form back in with Meridian. I don't know what would happen to those that. Certainly, the slaves that went with them would be freed and incorporated back into the city, but the nobles and I doubt they would put them in jail. But I'd like to know what happens to them because I don't have any theories. If you have a theory and if you have a suggestion of what might happen or a fitting punishment, or if you think Avad would just forgive them all, please let me know down in the comments. That one's an interesting one, and I don't have a theory on that one. I don't really know what he would do in that situation. I think that's really everything at the moment. Looking at the start of the video and like leading up to the point, I think the only ones I haven't really talked about is the Oseram. They would probably be invited back to rebuild a new elevator. That would certainly be needed, and that would take a long time. They'd be well provided with shards. Meridian's a very rich city, so it could afford it. And certainly the fact that the Oseram helped, and Aaron certainly could talk them into it. And I think that relations between the Oseram and Meridian are good enough that they would certainly help build the elevator, certainly for shards, and trade between them is still good. So I would imagine that would just happen naturally. That's the obvious choice. They'd help rebuild an elevator or build new elevators around the city, and help with the rebuild of Meridian's market. Bright Market in the north was left untouched, so we know that that's fine. And there was a bit of farming going on there, and I think they would have enough food to last, which means now that they would probably want to trade with the plains people for food. Now, if at this point they got a report in saying, hey, there's some sort of reddish fern that's growing in the west and it's affecting our crops, that directly relates to Meridian again, and Avad might ask Aloy to go and investigate. She's curious enough to go herself, and that might lead into the start of her going to the Forbidden West. If Avard's the only one that can open the gate, I mean, I'm sure Aloy can get by the gate on her own without his blessing, but if the Shadow Carja merge back in with Meridian and Sunfall becomes a part of Meridian again and a part of the Carja and their main tribe again, then he could open the gates, allowing her passage into the Forbidden West. Yeah, I really do think there's a lot to be said about the actual trailer, and I will get to that in the next video. Until then, if there's anything that you want to talk about for this video, please put it in the comments below. Please, please, please hold on, because I will be doing the next video almost immediately after this one. I'm going to have some food first, and then we'll get right into that, and there's just a lot to be said, but I think there's enough to be said about like the build-up and certainly what happens between 1 and 2 and I want to see some sort of cutscene. And sadly, on a sad note, I don't think we're going to get back to the naming cliff, because obviously the second game has a completely new map. We won't be able to get there unless they build it in the system. And I don't think they'll allow us to do that. So I think that's it, basically. I'm kind of sad about that, but I am very excited for the new game, and hopefully we'll get to see everything that we want to see in it. And I'd like to see a joining, maybe opening video of here's what happens after the battle, here's the result, and here's what's happening in the future. I know I didn't say as much about Silence, but I have a whole paper on that ready to go for the next video. You have no idea. Like 3 o'clock last night, I woke up with like loads of ideas, and I was just like, no, and then back to sleep. But I will get into that into the next video. So if you have any questions about anything I said, if you want to challenge anything I said, if you think I'm wrong, please put it in below and we'll have a nice friendly discussion about that. Please, if you think you're completely wrong on that one, please write it down and we'll have a nice friendly discussion about it. We're not going to get angry. I'm not going to get angry about it. I'd like to hear everyone's opinion on this, and I'd like to know what you guys think. Because so far there's been a lot of theories passed around there, but this is my personal theory. But if you guys have a better theory, or if you think I'm wrong, or if you think you know different, or if you agree, please put it in the comments below, and I will reference everyone in the description below the video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you very shortly in the next one. Goodbye.